Sawasdee krap, and welcome to Thailand News Today on the Thaiger. About the only safe place to do the program at the moment is in my own house. You have to wear a mask basically anywhere outside, and whilst that doesn't particularly bother me, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to understand what I'm saying, as difficult as my accent can be from time to time. Also, a big shout out to Tony Clark. Thank you very much for becoming part of our Thaiger community and becoming a member. Also, I should say that today is the last day of a 4-day long weekend we've had here in Thailand. It's Coronation Day. It commemorates the day that King Maha Vajiralongkorn became Rama X. So happy Coronation Day, I suppose. Let's start with the news. Starting today across the border, where a Burmese rebel group is claiming to have downed an army helicopter in the Kachin province in the far north of the country. The Kachin Independence Army says it shot down the helicopter in response to military airstrikes in the province. Myanmar has been rocked by violence and political unrest since a February 1 military coup that deposed the democratically elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi's NLD party. Anti-coup protests have continued to take place in the country, but if the KIA's claim is true, the military helicopter is the first army aircraft to be downed since the start of the recent conflict. The rebel group says the helicopter was shot down yesterday morning following days of airstrikes on the Kachin province. The Burmese military has not commented on the claim, and it's not yet been independently verified, but multiple videos show the incident and are circulating online. The KIA is one of the most powerful of the many armed rebel groups in the country. The Burmese army remains accused of having killed around 766 civilians to date, including peaceful protesters. A recent poll of the Thai hotel industry shows that 47% of those surveyed only have enough liquidity to sustain less than 3 months of business. The Bank of Thailand has published its confidence index of hotel business operators for April 2021, and the findings make for a grim read. A total of 188 hotels around the country took part between the 12th and 26th of April. Among those surveyed, 30 properties are currently serving as alternative state quarantine facilities. 47% say their liquidity is such they can only remain open for less than 3 months. 46% remain open as usual, while 13% have closed temporarily. Most of the shuttered hotels are in the south of the country and consist of properties that would normally attract foreign tourists. Prominent Thai virologist Dr. Yong Puvo Rawan is calling on the government to carry out mass vaccination of the population within 3 months after a study showed that 1 dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine can boost immunity by more than 96%. Dr. Yong has been a persistent critic of the Thai government's handling of the COVID outbreaks in the country. Posting on his Facebook page, Yong cited a recent study conducted on Thai people who received a single AstraZeneca dose, concluding that their immunity was improved by 96.7% compared to unvaccinated people. 61 people took part in the study over a 1-month period from when they received their first vaccine dose. High levels of immunity were also reported in individuals under the age of 60, with Dr. Yong pointing out that immunity increases further and lasts longer following a second dose of the vaccine. Meanwhile, Thailand's Public Health Minister Anutin says officials are ready to approve the registration of the Pfizer Moderna COVID-19 vaccine after meetings with the representatives of its Asian distributor Zuellig Pharma. The head of the Thai FDA says the distributor submitted all required paperwork last week, and registration of the vaccine will be completed in May. The COVID-19 infection cluster in the slum community of Bangkok's Klong Toei district has prompted the government to speed up its vaccination rollout there amid fears it could overwhelm the capital's public health system if left unchecked. The clusters sparked concerns about a widespread transmission because thousands of people live in the tightly packed residential area, many of them commuting across Bangkok and to nearby provinces. Speaking yesterday, the Bangkok governor said PM Prayut Chan-o-cha had stressed the urgent need to administer vaccine doses to community residents. He admitted that it would be more difficult to seal off the Klong Toei communities than the previous infection cluster in Samut Sakhon, which covered only a limited area and had a smaller population. Phuket is now added to the list of provinces in Thailand that have introduced soft curfews, strongly worded requests for residents to stay home during specific hours. Phuket residents are being asked to stay at home between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. daily. The announcement's now in force. Checkpoints are being set up to advise and warn people who don't cooperate. Soft or not, it's a curfew, albeit requested politely. The Thai government's gone out of its way to introduce restrictions to control crowds and the spread of COVID without using the words lockdown or curfew. Phuket now has a total of 463 infected with COVID-19 since the start of April. To a few regional stories, and things were starting to ease up for travellers around Southeast Asia, and travel bubbles were being discussed at high levels. But with some localised surges in new COVID infections around the region, the shutters are coming back down again. The Singapore Ministry of Health has announced that all travellers coming from Thailand, including Singapore citizens, permanent residents and long-term visa holders as of midnight May the 3rd and who have been in Thailand for any period during the 14 days prior to arrival in Singapore, must now do their mandatory 14-day stay-at-home quarantine at a dedicated stay-home notice state facility. Bottom line, if you are travelling to Singapore or transiting through Changi Airport, check with your carrier for the latest information on quarantine requirements and transit restrictions. At least 26 people have died and several remain missing after a reportedly overcrowded speedboat collided with a bulk carrier and sank on Bangladesh's giant Padma River. 5 people were rescued and sent to hospital. Finally, today the CCSA's reported 27 deaths and 1,763 COVID infections over the past 24 hours. Over the past 10 days, reports have hovered around the 1,500 to 2,000 mark, but the death rate has been trending upwards. Well, quite a lot of stories around today. Sadly, a lot still involving COVID-19 here in Thailand and its impact on our lives. So stay safe. At the moment, probably as much as you can, stay at home, wear your mask whilst you're outside, and we look forward to serving you with more stories on Thailand News Today tomorrow.